Welcome to News Channel 9. Tonight's topic is a partnering pedagogy that is sweeping the nation called inquiry-based learning. If you're a teacher, this method may be the way to go.
Yes, it may. The inquiry-based method should be used if you want your students to become master problem solvers. Here to give us more information on inquiry-based learning is News Channel 9 reporter Ms. Cassidy Grist.
Hi, this is Cassidy Grist from News Channel 9, live at the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France, to discuss a partnering pedagogy called Inquiry-Based Learning, or IBL for short. Inquiry-based learning can be described as a method of instruction that places the student, the subject, and their interaction at the center of the learning experience. At the same time, it transforms the role of the teacher from that of dispensing knowledge to one of facilitating learning. It repositions him or her physically from the front and center of the classroom to someplace in the middle or the back of it, as it subtly, yes, yet significantly increases his or her involvement in the thought processes of the students. Next up is Dr. Bronner, an expert on inquiry-based learning, here to discuss the role of the teacher in inquiry-based learning.
The role of the teacher in inquiry-based learning is very critical and different than the traditional approach. Teachers become the leader of learning or the facilitator of the learning process. They are questioners, however, they do not pose the same questions as they would in a traditional approach. In an inquiry classroom, the questions teachers ask are more reflective.
Thanks, Dr. Bronner. Next up is Dr. Carrie Johnson, an Athens State University education professor, to discuss the role of the student in inquiry-based learning.
In an IB classroom, students are actively seeking solutions, designing investigations, and asking new questions. They're actively involved in making observations, collecting and analyzing information, synthesizing information, and drawing conclusions. They are the thinkers and problem solvers of the classroom.
Thanks, Dr. Johnson, for sharing your information about the role of the student in inquiry-based learning. Next up, we go to Mrs. Smith, an elementary school teacher that teaches at Athens City Schools. She will be discussing the process followed by the student in inquiry-based learning.
Thanks for having me. Students research and answer questions to gain knowledge rather than the teacher just giving the information to them through lecture. Students have to find answers rather than being given the answer. Students eventually become master inquirers also.
Here with us to discuss the advantages in inquiry-based learning are two high school students from Athens City Schools that did a project on inquiry-based learning. They're here to discuss the advantages and the benefits of teaching and learning in an inquiry-based environment.
One advantage to inquiry-based learning is that it leads to more motivated students. Another is that it results in better long-term retention of information.
An advantage to IBL is that it can give students the opportunity to teach and learn from each other. Another advantage is that it encourages self-direction.
IBL may also engage students who do not function well in a more traditional learning environment. Another advantage is that it can be adapted for any age group.
Thanks, guys. Next up, we will be discussing the disadvantages of an inquiry-based approach. Yes, there are disadvantages, as there is with everything. Here to discuss the disadvantages is a fellow News Channel 9 reporter, Kelly Callahan.
One disadvantage is that it requires more planning and preparation from educators. Using an IBL approach, you may be less able to meet goals of standardized testing, which is a disadvantage. Another disadvantage is that it requires more class time. Another disadvantage is that educators must be skilled in helping students learn the art of asking a good question.
Thanks, Kelly. Next, we will be going to a local school teacher to discuss obstacles to overcome.
One obstacle to overcome is parents, community leaders, and educators' attitudes towards IBL. Most are used to the traditional approach and expect students to memorize and do a lot of homework. Another obstacle is that it's time-consuming and not quick to employ. Teachers may have difficulty adapting to the changes IBL requires, which can also become an obstacle.
Now, let's listen to what a teacher has to say about the inquiry-based method.
Can teach creativity. People can be more creative than they currently are. And through a means of inquiry, where they are active participants rather than passive passengers, then in fact they really develop that skill set to think, to analyze.
Next up, we go to Research Corner to dive in and take a deeper look at the facts and statistics on inquiry-based learning.
Let's look at key findings. Effective learning requires that students take control of their own learning. The ability to apply knowledge to new situations is affected by the degree to which students learn with understanding. Students formulate new knowledge by modifying and refining their current concepts. Research shows that inquiry-based teaching is not so much about seeking the right answer, but about developing inquiring minds, and it can yield significant benefits. Research also indicates that using IBL can help students become more creative, more positive, and more independent.
Now, we will look at a small overview of inquiry-based learning and its main points. Thanks for tuning in tonight to listen to our special report on inquiry-based learning. This concludes the news for tonight. Cassidy Grist, News Channel 9, signing off. Good night, America.